Israeli politics. I'm joined here in the studio by Dr. Emmanuel Navon. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining me. We've just heard there from, the leaders of the far-right parties. Tell me, how can we expect all of this to play out?
Look, basically, there was a lot of pressure from the Prime Minister on the different national religious parties to run together and to include also Itamar Ben Gvir. Naftali Bennet, the leader of the New Right, put his foot down and said, there's no way I will include in my list somebody who has a picture in his living room of Baruch Goldstein, who murdered Muslim worshippers in 1994. So that means that the Itamar Ben Gvir running alone would waste the right-wing bloc probably about 2 seats, which is why Netanyahu wanted him in. But to his credit, Bennett decided to leave him out and say, no, if you want to break your agreement with him, you're welcome. He might also just drop at the end of the day. I mean, he did submit his list, but there's still a possibility that he will decide to drop so as not to waste those extra votes for the right-wing bloc.
And of course, all those seats are extremely crucial, all of the votes coming in. Tell us, what are the polls showing at this stage? Of course, still a couple of months left until the polls open.
So most polls still show that neither the right-wing nor the left-wing blocs have a majority. Definitely without Avigdor Lieberman, he's still the kingmaker. So what the polls are showing right now is that the scenario wouldn't be much different from the previous elections, which is why most people said also, saying, you don't need a third election because the result will probably be very similar. So there might be changes here or there, but at the end of the day, the blocs, neither bloc has a majority, even though things might still change until March the 2nd. But Lieberman continues to be the kingmaker, and he might change his strategy. This is also an open question.
So if he doesn't, really, what is stopping a fourth election? What can give here?
It might happen. In fact, if you remember, when Gideon Sa'ar decided to run against Netanyahu for the leadership of Likud, that was his main argument, to say that, look, nothing will change if Netanyahu remains at the head of Likud. Blue and white will continue to refuse to form a coalition with him or with Likud. And Avigdor Lieberman will continue to refuse to grant him a right-wing coalition, and therefore what you need to unblock that situation is to have a new leadership for Likud, because that's the core of the problem. So the option of a fourth election should not be completely ruled out.
Certainly something that nobody really wants here. And Emmanuel, tell us, we were talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, and of course at the center of all of this is this immunity battle that's ongoing. What is the very latest there?
Look, it's all a political game between the majority and the opposition. Each side is trying to play for time. Netanyahu does not want the current Knesset to handle the issue of his immunity. He wants the next Knesset to do so, hoping that he will have a majority, which he doesn't have right now. So if the Knesset House Committee handles his request for immunity, it will be rejected, which is why he wants the next Knesset to look into it. But of course, the opposition it has the very opposite strategy. The only question at this point is who will win in this time game when the Likud is going to try and filibuster and use the Supreme Court or the High Court of Justice to try and block the process, and the opposition is going to try and enforce it. So it's all about timing and who is going to win in this time game.
Certainly is all happening here in Israel. Dr. Emmanuel Navon, thank you so much for coming in.